Hi there, you're on Gossip Says channel. Enjoy watching, subscribe and like it. It's growing our community.
Story 1. I, 26F, have a problem with my husband's 38M girlfriends. Am I being paranoid? My husband, 38M, and I, 26F, are together for 2 years and recently had a really hard time working through my past. I have high body count, which he is really unhappy about. I was feeling guilty because I thought I am the bad and spoiled one in our relationship. But as time went by, I found out that he is not that innocent himself. We never cheated on each other, as far as I know about him. But here is the story. He has a group of close younger girlfriends, 4 of them, all my age. They met on a vacation almost 10 years ago. Those girls live in a different city, but come and visit him occasionally. At one point I asked him if he ever had anything with them. He confessed that he did with one of them. All of them are my age, and he met them when they were still underage, and he was 29. He was having casual sex with one of them throughout 5 to 6 years. First time it happened when she was 17. He had several girlfriends during this period. But in the meantime, he would sleep with this one girl from the group. As far as I know, he didn't cheat on his girlfriends, but when being single in between them, he would sleep with that girl. Couple years ago, that girl found a boyfriend. He also had a girlfriend for about half a year back then, and he told me they haven't slept with each other ever since. He even showed me the chat with her, which is nice of him, and there really isn't anything suspicious. I even met those girls once when they were visiting. It wasn't really pleasant because she was obviously hitting on him. But I must admit his behavior that night was okay. He was paying a lot of attention to me, and I didn't notice him flirting with any of those girls, mostly just laughing about some local jokes. Yet, I am worried that they remain really close, and I don't understand what this friendship is for him, a grown-up man. He says they are friends for life now, that there is nothing sexual between them. They have some company of mutual friends. Once I confronted him about this, I told him I find that kinda weird. And here is one more thing. He made me break any connections with my past flings, except for one serious long-term boyfriend. I asked if he can do the same for me regarding that girl, and he said it would be too much, because they have long history of friendship, etc. Here I need to make a note. He doesn't really have a thing for younger girls. Now I know pretty much everything about his previous dating life, and I know that all of his girlfriends were his age. Me and that girl are really the youngest ones he ever had sex with. Am I being paranoid? Or is this really something weird I should be worried about? I would be really grateful for advice, especially from a male perspective. Can you really be friends with girls 12 years younger than you, considering you have some sex past with one of them? I am not afraid that he's gonna cheat. I know he loves me, but I can't help my paranoia. Story 2. My girlfriend, 29F, broke up with me, 39M, because she suddenly remembered that she must be alone. How to get her back? Hi everyone. If it matters for cultural context, this happened somewhere in the EU. I met this girl online. Initially we were just chatting. No other details like pics, location, age, phone numbers, etc. Soon she started to like me a lot, asking for personal details after about 2 to 3 weeks. I was patiently waiting for her to make the first step. She requested to meet for a few times late/midnight in park. In hindsight, this was my first red flag. When she told me that by coincidence she moved very close to me, less than 10 minutes within walking distance. Before she lived in another part of the capital, much further. Then we both decided to go to the seaside on an island. Everything went pretty well. We continued to visit each other's houses, hang around, go to shopping/stores around the neighborhood, eat together, or sometimes just share what we cooked, walks, mostly at night, through the parks near us, help each other with errands or various stuff in/out of house. This very intense situation lasted a bit more than 3 months. Sometimes we met up to 4 times a day, and everything was beautiful. Our connection felt telepathic, as she stated, and I couldn't agree more. All of a sudden her demeanor changed drastically. She started throwing these hints, doing it very subtle, always just a word or two, while we were laughing or walking. Never had a serious discussion. So she told me that she has just finished a long relationship, hence the reason to move. Was on psychotherapy for 6 years, due to various childhood drama and relationships failure. She kept repeating that she has problems and she's not well. Once I got really scared when mentioned she contemplated suicide, in her past, not recently, and about a month later, she said she wishes to live one more year, her exact words. In retrospect, I realize she gets very angry way too easily, but hides it quite well. Her night's sleep quality is very poor, has this constant shake and whisper, albeit the quantity is plenty. Also, she's drinking frequently, being almost drunk once or twice per week, while being physically ill. This was the only thing she mentioned from the beginning, that she has a few medical conditions. A number of times she said that she has never loved anyone. Within 3 weeks, she broke up with me saying that she just remembered how she has done this mistake in her past, to start a new relationship immediately after breaking up, and she doesn't want to repeat history. I was gobsmacked and completely heartbroken. What bothered me most is the way she tried to blame me for the breakup by creating or exaggerating flaws just so that it looked like everything was my fault. I even proposed to do therapy together, but she refused. We tried to chat on WhatsApp for another month without any success, ended up by blocking me. I went by her flat once to pick up some personal stuff from her. We exchanged literally just a few words and she was looking awful. A few days later, I tried to visit her one more time. She wouldn't open the door and threatened me to call the police. This is pretty much where it all ended. I suffer greatly since I'm still in love with her. Can't think rationally. Sorry, but can't control my emotions. She let me fall in love with her since she never stated her real intentions, which she later described as just wanted to know you. It's obvious that she likes me, but now she has created this whole bad mental image about me and refuses any contact. I asked her if I was perfect, would we still be together, but got no answer. Likewise, I asked how can you start something, be so well together, and after 3 months remember that you actually wanted to be single because of your past mistakes. This blew my mind and can't recover. If only she would have said this from the beginning, I would consider it just some adventure and wouldn't care about her. This is not the savior complex. I just like her for what she is. She has some really great positive sides. I just want her back, and I can't do much about it. Any advice on how to approach her, to make her realize our potential and get back together? Story 3. I struggled to socialize because of intelligence, being tested for IQ, and was at 146. Although that's not genius or anything crazy, it still means that I rarely find people of similar thinking. My problem is, I was brought up in a turbulent household where I never really had the opportunity to study. So although I excel naturally at things, I very rarely possess the communication skills or consistency necessary to communicate what I am thinking. I work in machine learning, specifically geometric machine learning, using graphs for language processing. I can't quite communicate my ideas like my coworkers. Writing proposals and papers is hard for me. It's really a recipe for disaster. I'm sure my colleagues think I am a bit crazy, since I can never quite communicate what I am intending using formal methods. I'm known as the kind of weird guy who, left alone with a problem, will come back with a novel solution. And I am constantly suffering from imposter syndrome. I am totally and almost unavoidably aware of what I don't know within my field. Given enough time, you can justifiably come up with enough reasons not to pursue an idea. You can delve into as much detail as you want as to why an idea is not feasible. It's a constant pendulum swinging from, okay, this can be done, to, I am an idiot for even thinking this is possible. What's the worst part is, I am the first person in my family to achieve higher education. No one in my family even understands what I am doing. Holidays and visits constitutes me summarizing my work with just the usual computing stuff. But that's the reality of growing up disadvantaged. I can't talk about it with anyone. Even in my office, my work is niche, and mentioning it is met with confused looks. People only ever care about results, and results are abstraction of complex things. How poorly some representations do to represent the complexities of the structures that produce them. With my work, unless I can visually show it, it's not taken seriously. But that doesn't capture the monumental complexity taking place underneath. Machines whose reasoning we can't even accurately understand. A black box. We can reason as to how it reached its conclusions, but we have no idea if the machine has understood something beyond our own definitions. I love jazz and blues, but rarely find anyone who appreciates it as much as I do. The irregular nature of it produces music that feels like information to me. Modern music is consistent. Its future is the same as what you have heard in the past. Blues and jazz feel like listening to something organic in nature. And dating, God knows such a logical mind was not made for normal relationships. Feelings which I cannot express are as frustrating as ideas which cannot be turned into implementations, and vice versa. Reasonable explanations cannot be turned into feelings. I have hurt many women because I have failed to understand how any of this works. Women whose feelings cannot be put into such perfect sentences, but whose sentences would make more sense than emotions to me. Ultimately, I don't know. My life has been lived through my eyes. I can't transpose myself into another and understand things from theirs. I wish I could. All I can do is produce good work, morally and ethically sound, and believe in some better future. Sometimes, I wish I could communicate with others the way I think, to really convey the information absorption, how I can be at a coffee shop and be distracted from your conversation, because someone's choice of words in a conversation nearby produced some thought in me. How can I explain that to someone who is offended by my distraction, and rightfully so? How absurd. Story 4. My 47M girlfriend, 37F, is having weekly sleepover out, and it isn't adding up. I'm not sure if I'm in the right place to ask this opinion, but my M47, GF, F37, starting last August has started pulling away emotionally and has been having sleepovers about once a week at different places. For the most part, I trust her, but she says she's at baseball tourneys, to a work thing, to going out with the girls, but almost every week without fail she's doing something that involves an overnight. Some of these overnights are legit, but other ones are sketchy. We've been dating a year and a half, and it rarely happened before. For context, she's 37, lives with her sister, and I'm 47, and live upstairs in my office building as I'm building my new house, which should be done in 3 to 4 months. I assume there is an age gap. I used to party all the time when I was in my 30s, and it wasn't uncommon for me to be out like this. Ultimately, I love the shit out of this girl. I am happy with her and really like her, and want to make it work. She's a great person, but I really have been worried lately with some of the shit going in. The big event when I feel it change was when we were at a party. She was high on coke and was super sketched out and having anxiety attacks. I partook a bit, but I did significantly less and generally don't touch the stuff. She kept asking me to leave and eventually left me at 3 a.m. to sleep in a parking lot in her car because I was in no shape to drive, and took an Uber to party with her friends so she could continue to do cocaine until 7 to 8 in the morning. I found it super disrespectful and almost dumped her, but decided she's an amazing person and forgave her for it. This same friend group she went back with often has nights, especially during COVID when it was weekly, where they are the only invitees and they just hang out and do coke or Adderall and drink all night. They've toned it down over the summer, but they will specifically hang out and not invite SOs. She's even had plans to hang out with me, and then at 6 p.m. that night ditched me to go party with them and told me I'm not invited. Ever since that night where I slept in a parking lot, she's had other nights with some sketchy excuses. One time she said she was at my house to her sister and told me she was at her sister's. We found out when she didn't come home, and she came in drunk at 7 a.m. to my house. It came out later that she had taken an Uber to some guy in her baseball team when she told me she took an Uber to a girl on her team's house. She told me she was looking for coke and for an accomplice with her drug crew, but didn't get any. The story changed numerous times, and she said she was too drunk to remember. There's more to it, but you get the gist. Recently, she did an audit on a store, food industry, that was listed as permanently closed on Google, and the second store she was auditing didn't exist in the city she said she was staying in. Tonight, her family has COVID, and she now going for a hot pot in a city an hour away with some girls she never hangs out with, and guess what? A sleepover so they can have some drinks. We've also moved from her moving in to not knowing what she wants, etc. We're super tight with her family and have attended weddings, holidays, and Thanksgiving, etc. They are all really nice folks. We used to be amazing, and I'm not sure exactly what to think at this point. I'm worried she's either got a substance abuse problem or she's cheating on me. I've had confrontations with her about it, And she thinks I'm just being jealous, needy, and insecure as she's insinuated to me. But I'm worried she's gaslighting me. Maybe I'm being insecure, but it's weighing heavily on me. Am I messed up here to worry about stuff like this, or should I am in overthinking stuff? Maybe I'm a jealous asshole,